Jeremy Corbyn has sought to turn the tables on critics of his contacts in the Middle East by promising to apologise for Labour taking the country to war in Iraq on the basis of a deception. That's if he is elected leader.
Exercising the ghosts of the Iraq war. Yvette Cooper and others have already accepted the party got it wrong. But Jeremy Corbyn has put it centre stage, pledging to formally apologise. And it could be good for him, because he's the only candidate that can say he voted against it at the time.
It was wrong. More than 1 million people protested against it, and it did enormous damage to the Labour Party. And I think that many people in this country are looking for some changes in this area.
I think that the Iraq war was a mistake. The Labour Party agrees that it was a mistake. I think most of the public agree it was a mistake. We don't really need Chilcot to tell us that. And so it's a very small step from accepting that we've made a mistake to apologising. I don't see it such a big deal. I think that it would be a good thing in many ways to do, and to then put behind us and to say, yes, we made a mistake.
For the Iraqi troops to regain control.
He's drawing clear policy lines, opposing future British intervention in Syria. But his comments to Russia Today last year, comparing the so-called Islamic State and American troops, has prompted a rare response from the Prime Minister.
The ISIS forces, yes, they are brutal. Yes, some of what they've done is quite appalling. Likewise, what the Americans did in Fallujah and other places is appalling.
My concern is that we do everything we can to protect and enhance the security of the United Kingdom. And the idea we'd be stronger or more secure by leaving NATO, as Jeremy Corbyn suggests, or by comparing American soldiers to ISIL, I think this is absolutely the wrong approach and would make Britain less secure. And that will never happen under my watch.
Well, with me now is Lindsey German from the Stop the War Coalition, a supporter of Jeremy Corbyn. Do you think there is any kind of equivalence between what Islamic State has done and what the Americans did?
Well, no, it's obviously two very different things. And I think that Jeremy's point, as far as I could see, was that he wasn't saying it was an equivalence between the two. But I think it's very important we do understand two things. Firstly, that there were all sorts of terrible things that happened in Fallujah, which the Americans were involved in. There was the use of white phosphorus, for example. And the second thing is that ISIS itself, in many ways, is a product of the catastrophe that followed the war in Iraq, and that one of the things that has happened with ISIS is got support in that part of Iraq as because of what happened in Fallujah.
But you see the problem with talking about them at the same time, that people will inevitably think, well, you're comparing them, aren't you? If you mention them in the same breath, you're basically saying they're similar.
Well, I think only if people really don't look a bit beyond the sort of headlines here and actually look at what Jeremy was saying and what other people are saying about this. And we have to look at ISIS, not just... There's no point in just saying ISIS is terrible. I think everybody can agree to that. These things are terrible. The things that they do are terrible. But we have to understand why that happens and look at why that happens.
Who do you think this is going to bring back to the Labour Party if Jeremy Corbyn apologises for what he says was the deception that led to the Iraq war?
Oh, well, I think...
I mean, how would that work politically?
I think it is already bringing back very large numbers of people to the Labour Party, because people are saying...
people on the left who deserted Labour?
Many people left the Labour Party in 2002, 2003, 2004 as a result of the Iraq war.
And went where?
Lots of them didn't go anywhere. Lots of them just stayed as people who were active, as people who probably still voted Labour, or maybe voted for one of the other smaller parties.
Well, that's the point, though. If they carried on voting Labour, then what does this achieve politically? You know, the point is, if this is a political strategy to help Labour win power again, and to address the wrongs of the past as he sees it, who is this going to bring back into the Labour fold?
I think the important thing is that Labour needs to account for what happened over Iraq. The other two
Ed Miliband already said it was wrong, didn't he?
Well, he said it was
5 years
wrong.
ago.
He didn't apologise. The other two candidates who were in Parliament voted for the Iraq war. We've since had a whole number of conflicts, including Libya. We still have the catastrophe. If you look at the refugees now, many of those are people from war-torn areas. So this is a live issue. It's an issue which is still going on. And for Jeremy to say, we are saying the war was wrong and we will apologise to people for it because they were misled and lied to, is very, very important.
We saw a glimpse of the future, though, didn't we? With David Cameron today coming out to attack Jeremy Corbyn. And you can see that will be the narrative. you know, that our security is secure with the Conservatives, we'll stick with NATO, we'll stick with our international alliances.
Well, he can come out...
Labour leads us down the road to...
He can come out with this narrative, but in my opinion, these wars are not good for Cameron. He lost the vote 2 years ago over Syria. If he'd won that vote, some of the people who are now close to ISIS will be people who would be in a stronger position, actually. So I don't think Cameron's in a very, very good position. Libya was a disaster. He was one of the main architects of it. So I think Jeremy is absolutely right to put these arguments, and I think they will be very popular.
OK, Lindsey German, thank you very much.
Thank you.